Christopher Lee came and sat next to me. And I honestly nearly wet myself. Hi, I'm Genevieve O'Reilly, and these are my film firsts with BAFTA. The first film I saw, which I shouldn't have watched, was Jaws. I saw it very young. It really, really scared me. So much so that I remember when we would go to the seaside and you'd walk along a pier or a jetty or something, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go anywhere. I would go out to the sea because I was terrified that the shark would just arrive from nowhere and eat through everything to get to me, because clearly I was the centre of the world at whatever that age was. But yeah, I was terrified of Jaws. I have gone back and watched that film actually a number of times. It is just a perfect film. The way the suspense is set up, the feeling of community, you understand threat so immediately. And it's ages before you see the shark. And I know they're given a lot of grief because of the robotics of the shark, but actually I think it really still stands up and it's still quite scary. I actually recently showed my kids. They're a tiny bit older than I was, but yeah, everybody was gripped, and it gets you, that film. Oh, the first film that I was obsessed with, I think it was The Princess Bride. You know, Mandy Patinkin, in his sword fight, my name is Inigo Montoya. You kill my father, prepare to die. And the man with 6 fingers goes, what? He goes, my name is Inigo Montoya. You kill my father, prepare to die. And it goes on and on and on. I remember seeing that film. I went to the cinema with my mom and my sister. And there was a promotion on at the time. If you bought a number of packets of bread, it came with a token, and you could take that to the cinema if you had like 2 packets of bread, and you could get like half price cinema tickets. So my mom, I think there was like 6 packets of bread eaten, and she had saved the tickets, and we went to see The Princess Bride. I was just transported. I loved that film. I loved it. And then we ate more bread so I could go back and see the film. When we got a VHS recorder, I watched that film so many times. I must have worn down the film. I loved it. It was so funny, so witty, so clever, so magical. Brilliant performances. I was a bit obsessed with that, yeah. There's this bit there's so much when Fezzik kind of gets paralysed. But there's this bit in the boat after they kidnap her and they're working in rhyming couplets, and he says, no more rhyming, I mean it. And Fezzik says, anybody want a peanut? So it was everything, that film. Yeah, the fire swamp, the rodents of unusual size. There was so much in that film. You can see I was obsessed with it.
Inconceivable.
That's right. The potion and the antidote. Which one is the antidote? That's Wallace Shawn. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much in that film. Ooh, the first film I remember seeing ever. I think I was about 4. And we were on holiday on the west coast of Ireland. And my mom and dad took myself and my sister so maybe I was 5 and she was 4, or I was 4. Anyway, we were little. And we went to this tiny little cinema on the west coast of Ireland. I remember we walked into the little town and we sat in there, and I do remember it feeling quite magical, quite other, I remember it in my body. And we saw this really old film called Darby O'Gill and the Little People. And it had Sean Connery in it from the time when he was very, very young. And it was a musical. And he sang. It was the woman singing it. I wonder who that woman was. Couldn't have been Kathleen O'Hara. I don't know. So he is my dear, my darling one, his eyes so sparkling full of fun. No other can match the likes of her or him. I don't know, maybe they both sang it. Not his finest work, I would say, but That was the first one I saw. I would watch musicals all the time, and we did get a VHS recorder, and so we could get those old films on video. I was weirdly obsessed with everything Gene Kelly did as a kid, and I used to, because I loved dancing as well, so I would try and be him, like in Singing in the Rain, but also him with Danny Kaye in Singing in the Rain, like that Moses supposes his toes are roses. I like all of it. I did like a lot of films, a lot of musicals. Sorry, I think I was probably a bit obsessed with Gene Kelly. Yeah, it's quite weird for a 9-year-old, but yeah, I was.
Do you remember your first audition?
Oh my God, that's so long ago now. Well, I remember the audition for Star Wars. It was one of my first jobs straight out of drama school. I was living in Sydney. I had been to drama school in Sydney, and Fox Studios had just opened there. They asked me to come in, and they were looking for someone who would look like a younger version of Caroline Blakeston, a wonderful English actor who played Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi. I had really no idea what it was for or what the reference was, and I just went in and I did it, and I got the role. I have made the joke before that I really think I got the job because I was the palest person in Sydney because they had to match an English actor. So, you know, I'm very white and I've got lots of bones on my face. So I think, and I think they thought they could just put the wig on me and it might work, and it did. So that was a very early audition, like film audition, that I remember, yeah. And I'm going to tell you one more thing about that. I had no idea of what a film set or a film, you know, the workings of a film was. And I remember going in and them taking me to, you know, the usual, you know, hair and makeup or whatever. And I remember I sat down in the hair and makeup chair, and I was just quiet. I was just sitting there, just pay attention. Don't say anything too loud. Don't, you know, be careful. And Christopher Lee came and sat next to me. And I honestly nearly wet myself. I couldn't cope with that. I didn't know where to look, what to do. And I think I just turned around and said, "Hello." Of course, he was very genial and kind and warm and lovely, but somehow that's conflated with my memory because it was all so new to me. Yeah, that was quite an amazing first.
When did you first hear that you were coming back to Star Wars in Rogue One as Mon Mothma?
So I had done Revenge of the Sith and had been cut from the film. Although it was an amazing experience, but that subplot was cut from the film because, of course, it's Darth Vader's story and Anakin Skywalker's story. And they were really kind. They wrote to me and said, "Listen, sorry, the pieces are great, but we're not going to keep it in." Which I'm sure was the right decision. And then you just leave it behind. You go on, and I had moved to London. I'd been working on stage here and television here. I'd had kids. It was 10 years. It was a big change in that time. And I was in the post office with my son, who was about 2 at the time. And I remember he was 2 because I was wrestling him as I was answering the phone. He had a pen in his hand that he'd taken from somewhere, and he was trying to draw on this lady's dress in front of me. And so I was on the phone saying hello. I don't know why I answered the phone, but anyway, I answered the phone. I said hello, and it was John Swartz who was producing Rogue One. And I didn't know. And I said, "Oh, hello. Stop it. Yes. Sorry. Stop. Yeah. Sorry. Oh, okay." And I didn't know what to do or where to look. And I was like, "Yes, I'd love to. Stop it. No, not you. Yes, I would love to, please." It was just one of those moments where life collides in a way that it felt instinctly dramatic, and it was. So I remembered very well because it kind of didn't make sense. I thought it was really nice of them to ask me back because they didn't have to. Do you know what I mean? Like they could have cast anyone at that point. So I felt it was very generous of Lucasfilm to do that. It was a brilliant experience. That was with Gareth Edwards' film directing. And I don't know how he did it, but he ran this huge set, huge pieces with hundreds of people, and it felt like we were making a little indie film. He had such a, I don't know, it felt really intimate, and where the camera was, how they used the camera, it didn't feel anything like as big as it looks. That's a real skill, to have a director who can film something colossal that feels intimate. The first thing I ever acted in, I mean, that's difficult because I'm Irish, and there was a tradition in my family growing up that you take part in party pieces. So if you go anywhere, there is often a music, like a big family gathering or something. So there's often a musical session where people bring out their instruments and start playing or singing or dancing. And I think part of it was a ploy for the adults to have a bit of fun and then say to the kids, go off and do your own party piece, make your own party piece. And so I used to go off with my cousins and we used to create these plays together. And they would always, of course, fit in, well, I want to do this song and I want to do this dance, and well, I'd like to do this. So it was this, goodness knows what it was. It must have been hilarious, but they're kind of the first performances I remember. And they were for our family. So it was a safe place, I think, to be really risky and show off, obviously. Love me, love me. I'm so useless. I remember no lines. I know there's actors who remember everything. They have this deep filing case in themselves. And I have friends who I've worked with like years ago, and they'll be able to quote streams of things from plays or scenes or films that we've done, and I don't remember any of it. I really don't. I'm very much a dive in, submerge myself, and then throw it. Maybe I just don't have a very big brain, so I don't have a place to hold it. I don't know.
What's the first film or TV show you saw that made you think, I want to act?
I'm going to say The Piano. I'm going to say Holly Hunter in The Piano, her performance in that. And the reason I think it's that is because I saw something different in that performance on film where she was mute in a way that I had never seen before. How much she communicated through her face and her eyes, and I fell in love with the idea of acting in a different way, that it wasn't broad, that it wasn't musical, that it could be deeply interior. And it shifted me a little bit as a person, that film. So that, and her performance, really. So I'm going to say that one, yeah, Holly Hunter in The Piano. My first, I guess, experience of Andor Season 2 scripts was really before we had scripts. It was in conversations with Tony, even before they had their writer's room. He rang and he would say, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what I'm thinking. And I remember vividly the first time he said, we're going to start at the wedding. And in the end of Season 1, she kind of is part of this, of handing her daughter to these shady people, let's just say, as part of a betrothal. And somehow I thought, it's okay, she's not going to get through with it. The character wouldn't do that, it's fine. And then Tony rang me and he said, we're going to start with the wedding. And I was like, no, Tony, what? And he's like, yep, that's where we're going to start. And I loved that. I loved that he went, yep, we're going for this. And then as an actor, you go, it's really liberating actually, because you go, okay, we're going for this. So then you morph into something, and it really allowed time for me to be able to kind of feel where this character was. And it really, illuminated her for me, knowing that, okay, that's how much this is. This is everything. That revealed to me that she was much more malleable, that I could move her a lot more than ever before. And not just physically, but actually emotionally, I could really kind of take her to corners as a character that I hadn't expected. That was a long answer, but Tony Gilroy's scripts were a treat. Every time they landed, you just read them and go, okay, we're going for this now. This is brilliant. It was very special being a part of Andor. It was a great gift of a surprise to me as an actor. Yeah. We were all a proper little community filming that. So what's lovely is that everyone was so deeply, collectively ambitious. So it's wonderful that it actually means something to people. God, that's everything.